All right. So before we kind of accept that there is something like the Rubicon, before we accept that there's somewhat like a qualitative difference before and after we make the decision to pursue a goal, let's double check. We're scientists, we should check that. Before we start with that, I would really recommend that for each chapter we're talking today about, did you kind of pick one unresolved problem, one thing you would like to change in your life, one thing you might want to change about yourself, one thing that you would like to address, and just maybe take a piece of paper or write it on a computer, just 3-4 lines, just whatever, pick one thing that you're interested in, pause this video and write 3 or 4 lines about this. That's it, okay? You don't have to, like, paragraphs is already too long. You just need, like, let's say you write 100 words. Obviously, you can write more. And I would recommend that you do that now, because I will show you what I have written about it, and I don't want you to bias you in any way by seeing what I have written. Okay, I will show you now what I have written about. And this is, I would love to learn the programming language R. Why? I think that would improve my statistical understanding. It's a cool thing to do your stats in R rather than SPSS. And it would help me to tailor my analysis more easily to my topics. It might help me to do research that I haven't done before. I would also like to be a great role model for my students in my lab and my PhD students, so they can say, oh, Andreas can R, I want to do R too. But I'm not sure if I can do it. It's a really significant investment of time. So I think, like, should I rather do something else? There's so many cool things out there. So this is my kind of unresolved problem. One thing that I often come back when thinking about it. Okay, so let's say, let's come back to the science of that, and let's say, like, where's this idea coming from that there's a Rubicon and there's these 2 different types of mindset, or at least 2 different types of mindset. And Heckhausen and Gollwitzer first proposed that in their Rubicon model of action phases. What they say is, like, basically first there are 2 and then extended it to 4. There are these 4 action phases. There are these 4 phases in which we pursue goals. So there's a deliberative mindset. This is the first. This is the left side on a Rubicon. This is where I ask myself, which of my goals are feasible and desirable? Which of my goals I should pursue? So this is for psychologists in the tradition of Heckhausen and Gollwitzer, people like me, we call this the motivational phase. So if I talk about motivation, I talk about basically the components in the theory of planned behavior. I talk about attitudes, norms, and expectations or control beliefs. So this is what the deliberation is about. And the task of the deliberation is to find a feasible and desirable goal, something that's doable and that they really want. And then at the end, you should cross the Rubicon. So now your mind changes according to Heckhausen and Gollwitzer. Now something completely different. You stop being interested in feasibility and desirability information, and you become interested in planning your goal pursuit. This is what they call the implemental mindset. So here it's all about the how, the where, and so forth. So this is what basically you can imagine Caesar crossing the Rubicon, opening his tent and saying, like, okay, let's plan out what we want to do. Thereafter, obviously, it comes to acting. Here, the key problem in acting is that you initiate and sustain your actions. So these are, your mind is basically tuned towards being good at initiating the action, so getting started, overcoming procrastination, and also not getting distracted while pursuing this goal. So this is the third phase. And then once you reach the outcome, once you reach Rome and become an emperor, you might want to ask yourself, was it worthwhile? So you evaluate your goal pursuit. You see what you did well. You see what you didn't well. It's kind of like a post-mortem analysis. And then you say, okay, I can take that for my next endeavor. So it's crucial to kind of, let's zoom in, it's crucial to underline again the idea that if you cross the Rubicon, you're in a different mind, you're almost like 2 different people before and after you commit to a goal. So deliberative mindsets, which of my wishes are the most desirable and feasible? So here you really think about, okay, so this is the left on the Rubicon, this is what the 2 mindsets that I show you are the ones that are studied the most, and on the right is the implementer mindset, planning where and how to act. So let me show you you how this is often studied. So you would come, just like at the beginning of this chapter, there was like name an unresolved personal problem. So you might say something like, I don't know, should I move? Should I switch jobs? Should I break up with my partner? All the things that keep us on our toes. And then you're either put in the deliberation group or an implementation group. So in a deliberation group, you're asked to list the potential immediate and delayed positive and negative consequences and estimate how likely each is, etc. So you could, in my example with learning the programming language R, I could kind of think about all the delayed positive ones. I could think about once I can do it, all the possibilities that open up, and the great feeling of saying, oh yeah, I can just quickly analyze that in R. The negative short-term consequences might be that I have to learn it, and that might be somewhat difficult or tedious. This is something I do when I am in a deliberative mindset. And then if I cross the Rubicon, I'm in the implementation group, right? So there's like list some different activities that could help you to implement this change, decide on a course of action, imagine yourself executing this plan. So here you're now thinking about, okay, what should I do? I think maybe I start a Coursera course. Let me see if there's a Coursera course on R and statistics. Okay, there are many. Which one can I choose? Okay, this one is the highest rated. Why don't I do this and then put in my calendar, I block some time, right? Very different conversation I have with myself when I'm on the right than on the left. So what in these studies, what they do is like they kind of implement, they kind of induce these two different mindsets and then look how subsequently people behave and how subsequently they feel and how subsequently they process information. So what you can see here is one key difference between people on the left and people on the right of the Rubicon, people in the deliberative and in the implemental mindset, is that on the left, people are very open-minded. They want to know, well, I want to know, like now is the chance for me to know whether I should learn R, Python, or MATLAB, right? 3 different programming languages. What's the pros, what's the con, what's the most future-proof, and so forth. I also want to know what's the most doable. I'm interested in feasibility information. Anything that you see in a theory of planned action, for instance, that's the type of information I'm interested in. But once I switch on the other side, I lose this open-mindedness. I don't want to know anything about feasibility or desirability. I make my decision. I kind of close that, and I'm unwilling to reopen my intention. And this kind of comes along, this closed-mindedness with an optimism bias. So you can see in people on the right side of the Rubicon that they are much more confident. They are optimistically biased in kind of processing desirability information. They think it's much more worthwhile pursuing the goal than they think it was on the left side, maybe just a minute ago or 5 minutes ago. They also think they are better able to achieve that. They become optimistically biased in processing feasibility and desirability information. On the left, they're not. They're pessimistic or even-handed. They're not pessimistic, they're even-handed. Think, I'm not sure if I can do it. It's pretty tough. It's a lot of time if I can actually commit myself to studying this programming language. So here you can see basically, like, imagine you would kind of come to Julius Caesar in his tent, and it would be, let's say, on the day before he crosses the Rubicon. He would sit there, he would be a little bit like, he would say, oh, he's not in a good mood. He's not really, he's very, so people in a deliberative mindset have much lower mood than people in an implemental mindset. They have much more negative mood. So he would be a little bit moody. He would not be very confident, not, I would say, like his usual self when he commands an army in battle. And he wouldn't be interested in kind of, let's have a look how we could do it. He would be only interested in discussing things that relate to whether or not he should do it. And then then the next day, he formed this, he formed the intention to actually attack Rome, right? And you would go in there and she's like, oh, I was thinking like, here are some pros and cons of actually doing it. And now he has no interest in that. He's optimistic. He's in a positive mood. He's like a different person. He's ready to go. And this is what we can see. You can see a marked difference between people who are in a deliberative mindset and in an implemental mindset. This is an unscientific side note, but you can also see that often in suicidal people, once they made the decision to kill themselves, they actually have a boost in their positive affect. So if you're a therapist, this is often what you can or have to be the most careful about suicidal tendencies is not when a patient feels the lowest, but it's when they kind of feel like, oh, they're doing a little bit better. That might be that they formed the intention to kill themselves. They moved from the deliberate to the implemental mindset. Okay, that's just a side observation that I thought might be interesting. The other thing that's really important is that if you go to a person, like if you go to Julius Caesar and he's in a deliberative mindset, he does not want to hear about implemental information. So imagine me trying to decide whether or not I should do R or not. I'm not interested in 12 different courses I could do in books and so forth, because I still want to figure out whether I should do it or not. But then if I made the decision to do it, I really don't want to hear about whether Python would actually be a better idea or not. I don't want to hear it, and it can be dangerous. There's some studies show that like when people pursuing their goals, if you reinduce deliberative mindset by asking why question, why are you doing this? You should remind yourself of the reasons of doing it. You should every day write down, these are the 5 reasons why I pursue my goal. This is really harmful. You shouldn't do that. This is not what, this will put you back on a Rubicon, and suddenly you're in a mindset where it's like, is that actually the right thing that I'm doing? Maybe I should do something different with my life. Don't do that. That is the mindset of a depressed person. Commit yourself to something and then don't think about feasibility and desirability anymore. So here's my example. What I talked about, right? There's like, you can see the red information is all about like desirability. The green information is about feasibility. I'm wondering whether I should do it or not. So you can now look at yours and see like, okay, am I more talking about how? It might be a piece of coursework where I might wondering, okay, how should I do it? When should I do it? What are the best tools? Should I, before I start writing something, learn how to use a reference manager, or is that a waste of time, etc.? That would be clearly an indication that you are on the right side, and I will alert you to strategies that might help you to solve that. Or if you're on the left side, then this is perfect, because we will, in the next step, look at how we can get you from left to right of the Rubicon.